So let's see how to beat Phayze, the new boss in BTD6. This is a special video, at least in the format in which I'll make it, which is trying out individual towers versus different tiers of Phayze, including the ones that we already typically use, like for example the Sticky Ninja or the Elite Defender, but also some new towers that I have in mind, like the Dark Knight and the Dark Champion, the Moab Eliminator, the Super Mines actually, and the Flying Fortress, and we're also gonna play around with crossbats. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Is going to be the Sticky Bomb Ninja. This is a staple in every single boss event, and I have a feeling that this thing is, well, first off, not going to be as good as it was, and second off, it's going to be particularly bad versus Phayze, I think, even though it has innate camo detection. So if you guys don't know, the towers that have innate camo detection are basically at a huge advantage versus Phayze. Well, maybe not even innate camo detection, just the ones that have a camo upgrade, right? Because that camo cannot be taken away from them, and the ninja obviously has a huge advantage there. But the thing with the Sticky Bomb Ninja is that, well, first off, in update 38 there was a 50% bonus range that this thing used to have, which now doesn't have. So the sticky projectile was basically getting thrown at a 50% longer range than the usual range the tower has, which it now no longer has starting from this update. So that's a huge nerf for that part. But also Phayze is a boss that teleports, and even though we're playing on Resort, which is a map that is very nice for a tower like this, because we can just have the Sticky Ninja in the middle and it's going to do a lot of damage, I think that usually we're going to have to rebuy this thing at least a couple of times. So let me, oh, that was the Master Mob I bought on accident, but let me just move this guy. So that was the first resell actually that we had to do, and at the spot at which he's about to pop, we're going to set a marker there, and we're gonna say, okay, so this is how far the ninja made it, but we need to do one more cell, and I think this is the perfect spot. This is going to be the last one, by the way, the last cell. So that's 3 cells for the ninja, and that's a lot of money spent actually. But let's see how we're gonna do. Are we fine at the top? Actually, I think we are. Yeah, so a couple more sticky bombs left, and I think I'm gonna hit pause, and we're gonna mark that spot, and we're gonna retry, try again, and we're gonna buy a new tower. So that's the spot that we're gonna mark for the Sticky Ninja. Okay, next up, Moab Eliminator. Now this tower is obviously going to be amazing versus basically any Moab class bloon, because the ability just does so much damage. But the problem that it has is that Phayze is a camo bloon, and it's going to need camo detection in order for the ability to land, which means that this thing is going to be very vulnerable to the radar jam ability, which is active for 12 seconds and it occurs every 24 seconds. So that means that we only have a very narrow window in which we need to use these abilities. So I guess the question is, how many abilities can we get off basically? So let's just see as soon as this thing ends. That's gonna be one ability. I bought the primary mentoring to get the cooldown down, and that is going to be, is that one ability per radar jam? Might be able to squeeze into actually. Let's try one more. Okay, so we can use 2 abilities before the radar jam expires. So that's going to be 2 abilities, and then we pause, and then 2 abilities again, and then we pause. So let's see how this thing is going to do. By the way, this ability does a lot of damage. I mean, it almost completely takes out the entire shield, and then it gets you to the next skull. But I noticed that the damage doesn't transfer over. So when we damage the shield, the extra damage doesn't carry over to the HP, which is kind of interesting, which means that we're probably going to need some timing on this ability. But this is looking like it's going to be the best one yet, I think. So I guess a couple more abilities. That's going to be like 2 more abilities left, I think, and we're done. But I guess the con with this one is that it's a very expensive tower to get, and let's just stop here. This is going to be, so the ability is ready, so this is going to be the spot in which we're going to mark the Moab Eliminator. Definitely a very impressive tower so far. Okay, next up, the Elite Defender. This is going to be the 205 Elite Defender. I'm going to have this guy on strong. I also bought a 420 Alchemist for it, and he's under a 220 Village, which is basically the typical setup that you guys are going to see. Now, this guy does a lot of damage. I mean, he's melting the shield, but I guess the problem with it is going to be this. The downtime from the radar jam. I actually kind of tried this one out in the early access that we got, and I wasn't too happy with it. And that's just because it doesn't have, well, it's not that it doesn't have innate camo detection. We can buy the millipad, but we are testing this one now, and we're gonna test the millipad as well after we're done with this one, by the way, because I want to see if just going for like a 0.25 is going to beat this one, even though it makes no sense because this guy is the damage one, and then I think it actually even gets extra damage versus Moab class bloons. But I guess the nice thing about the millipad is going to be that the camo upgrade gives bonus damage to camo bloons, and it's going to do damage persistently to the boss. It's not going to be affected by the radar jam, so that's going to be interesting. So another advantage that this tower has, the Elite Defender, is that the further the bloons have moved towards the exit, the more attack speed it gains. So for example, if the Bloons have made it to like, let's say 60% of the track, it's going to get 60% more attack speed, which is very nice versus Phayze. But then again, this also works for the millipede as well. Now this thing is looking to be doing similarly to the Sticky Ninja actually, and I'm not particularly happy about that one. So let's try the other one. Okay, so let's try the Millipede Elite Defender. This is going to be a 0-2-5, which I'm going to set on strong. It's only going to attack Phayze. And I guess the thing with the 205 is that because it did similarly to the Sticky Bomb Ninja, I guess it's not a good choice in general, because at least the Sticky Bomb Ninja is a lot cheaper than it, right? So I guess it's not worth spending that much money, which is what, it's like over $25,000 just to perform the same as the Sticky Bomb Ninja, which is pretty cheap actually. It's less than 10k. It's going to be a little bit more than 10k with all the cells and stuff like that, but yeah. Okay guys, so I'm gonna be honest, we are more than halfway there, and this thing is looking like it's performing a lot better than the 205, which is just insane when you think about it, but it also makes sense because of this 100% uptime on the damage. So I guess consistency in the damage is a lot more important than just getting the top hat, getting the 205, which does more damage, but actually in this case more damage is actually less damage, because you kind of need to be smart with this one. So this is a little bit worse than the Eliminator, but just a lot better than the 205 in general. Okay, now let's try out the Dark Knight. Now the idea behind this tower that I had is because Phayze moves a lot, we either want our towers to move, or we want to have, I think I mentioned this, but we either want to have our towers move or have towers that can do global damage, right, or global abilities, whatever it is. And because this Dark Knight can actually teleport, I feel like this might be a good choice. And also the fact that the Ultra Vision upgrade actually, I think, gives bonus damage to Camo Bloons, so that should be pretty interesting. Okay, so let's do one more teleport in range of the Alchemist. We only have one more skull left, so it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be actually kind of close to the 0-1-5, I think. Oh, that might not be a good spot to teleport because it's going to proc now. I hope it doesn't escape our range too much, because we're going to have to chase it otherwise, you know? Let's see where he's gonna go. So, oh my god, that was such a huge jump actually. No, I think this is the map. No, we're gonna have to chase it. That's so unfortunate. So I'm actually not even mad about this thing happening. I mean, we're just chasing it because that's how the map works. It's just a long line. But if this is any other map, the Dark Knight has this. I think it's about on par. Well, maybe not on par, but maybe a little bit worse than the Millipede Elite Defender. But I'm absolutely liking this tower as an alternative choice. I guess the Elite Defender is going to be the Millipede, which is going to be the main choice, I think, and the Dark Knight as an alternate choice. So that's very interesting. Let's focus our attention on the tier 2. So first off, I believe that the Mad is going to be the absolute best choice versus the tier 2, and there's no question about it because of a lot of things actually. Number one is going to be the global range, which is basically allowing us to kind of follow Phayze, because again, Phayze is a boss balloon that moves around a lot, so we kind of need these global towers in order to make it work, and the Mad is perfect for it. And obviously the fact that it is the Mad, it's a tower that's meant to deal with these Moab class balloons. So I feel like this is going to be an obvious first choice, but let's see how far Phayze is going to make it with the Mat, and let's try and find other towers for situations when the Mat is going to get banned. I actually tried out the Avatar of Rat, which is the usual second choice that people have. Actually, it's the first choice for some people, but it's my second choice versus bosses in general. And you know, the Avatar of Rat, I tried it in the early access and I was not impressed by them, just because they are similar to other towers. They are kind of, you know, tied to the camo detection. So I think we can mark this spot, which is for the Mat. This is an absolutely incredible result. I think it's kind of similar to the Moab eliminator for tier 1, and let's try something else. Okay, so next tower that I want to try out is actually the Millipede Flying Fortress. This is the same reasoning basically as the Elite Defender. You want to get the Millipede because of the innate camo detection. Well, it's not innate, it's just a camo detection upgrade, right, that the tower has, which cannot be taken away. And this thing is actually looking kind of promising to me. I mean, the price range is, I think, about similar to the Mat. I did not overclock neither the Mat, and I'm not going to be overclocking this one, but if we were to overclock them, they would do really well. So over halfway there, actually, this result is going to be a little bit worse than the Mat, but I guess an advantage for this one is that it can also deal with the small balloons, because the matte is amazing versus Moab class balloons, but then, you know, if you have some ceramic or something like that fast, you're going to need a different tower to deal with it. And especially with these portals getting moved, that might be a little bit of an issue for the matte, but it's absolutely not an issue for this one. So even though it's a little bit weaker than the matte, it's performing a little bit worse. The Flying Fortress does look like an interesting choice, actually. This is looking like a tower that can absolutely take on tier 2 Phayze by itself. So I think we're going to mark this spot around here as the spot at which the Flying Fortress defeated tier 2 Phayze. I think that's fine. Okay, next up, Dark Champion. This is going to be the 204, and I'm testing this just because the 203 Dark Knight was surprisingly good versus the tier 1. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, why not test this thing versus the tier 2 actually? Why not try this out? Because this is, I think the Ultra Vision gives, and I think this tower overall has a lot more damage versus Camo Bloons because of the Ultra Vision upgrade, plus I think it's got some bonus with it. I'm not actually sure. I guess one of the advantages that this guy has over the Dark Knight is that we're not going to get stuck like we did with the Dark Knight. We're not going to have to chase the boss, but the damage is definitely lackluster in terms of what the Dark Knight did to the tier 1 and what this guy is doing to the tier 2. I'm gonna be honest, it's not looking too hot for this guy. So we're around 74, and the thing is, well, he's probably gonna beat the boss, but the problem is that the next one, the tier 3, is going to appear in 6 rounds. So that's not good. That's way too close actually. And this is by far the worst performer. I think the worst performer that we've had out of all the towers that we tested, including the tier 1s. I mean, this tower is just objectively bad versus Phayze. It's not doing well. I mean, again, we're not overclocking, not doing anything like that, but this is very bad. This thing is barely gonna beat it. No, actually, it didn't even beat it. Okay, so the Dark Champion is definitely out. Okay, let me try one more tower. I'm gonna try the Super Mines. Now the Super Mines do a lot of damage. I mean, they do a lot of damage. This is going to be an amazing tower versus, I think it's going to completely destroy Phayze. It obviously doesn't care about the camo properties. It doesn't care about anything. It's gonna defend the small balloons. But the problem is that the Super Mines is a static tower. It's a tower that only disperses mines in its vicinity, in its range. And because Phayze is a balloon that keeps moving all over the track, you're gonna need a support Chinook to move the Super Mines, which is an additional expense. And also the Super Mines is a tower that's not cheap by themselves. You know, it's a $125,000 tower, which you need to buy a support Chinook for, maybe even 2 Chinooks actually, just to kind of keep up with the distance. We're lucky with this map with Resort because you know, we could kind of have it there at the corner and it pumped 3 tiers. I think it popped 3 skulls by itself. But this is looking like an amazing tower. This is looking like an amazing substitute for the mat, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, but this thing is doing insane. This is actually, I'm really impressed with this one. So we're gonna mark the spot for the Super Mines there, and that is going to be it. And as the tier 3 phase is approaching, I want to do 2 more towers. So first off, I want to test the Dart Paragon, and then I want to test the Ninja to see which one is better from the 2. Now the Dart Paragon is going to be a degree 30 because it's an easy one to get, and the Ninja is going to be a degree 1. But I have a feeling that the Ninja is going to do very well because of the sticky ability. So the problem with the Dart Paragon is that it is range limited, which means that we cannot move this Paragon. We are going to have to sell it and rebuy it in a different spot. We are kind of lucky again because we're playing a Resort, but if this was any other map, the Dark Paragon is going to crumble, and that's the advantage that the Ninja Paragon has. It's those sticky projectiles that have global range. So let's just kind of see how far this thing is gonna make it. I think that it's going to pop, so let's mark this spot right there for the Dark Paragon, and let's check out the Ninja. And let's do the Ninja Paragon. This is going to be just a degree 1 Ninja Paragon, but this guy again has the advantage of just having these global sticky charges, which don't care about, oh my god, these things do so much damage. It's like an eliminator ability, I think. That's almost a full skull. That's insane. Okay, this tower is insane. Along with the fact that it gives camo to all towers, right? That's gonna be a nice bonus, so you can kind of get this one and maybe buy something else as well. But you know, when these higher tiers of bosses start rolling in, the only way to defeat them is going to be Paragon. So I'm not even going to be testing other tiers. I'm just going to see how far this Ninja is going to go, and then we're going to stop at the tier 3 because it's just brute forcing it for the other ones, right? It's just Paragon. So let's just see how the Ninja is going to do in comparison to the Dart, but it's looking like it's going to win big time. This is by far the best tower that we've tested, and it's only a degree 1. But to be fair, it's only a tier 3 phase as well. So yeah, there we go. That was basically the best one that we've had. So the Ninja is amazing. And before I end this video talking about these higher degrees, especially the tier 4 and the tier 5 Phayze, I guess the tier 5 Phayze mostly, I think the best towers are going to be the ones that have abilities that are global or that can in some way do global damage to the boss, right? So we're talking the Ninja Paragon again, as we mentioned, for the actually it was a tier 3, but it's gonna be good versus the tier 4 and the tier 5 as well. But I'm also looking at towers like the Ace, because the ability can be dropped anywhere you'd like, so that's an amazing tower versus the tier 5 for sure. And then I'm also thinking the Wizard ability, especially the one which summons these ZOMGs. That's gonna be a nice one. And obviously if Phayze is in range of the metamorphosis ability of the range of the Wizard Paragon, that's gonna be a nice one as well. So I'm kind of looking at those 3 Paragons as the best ones versus Phayze. And yeah, it was a very fun video, so hope you guys enjoyed this testing video, which is a little bit different than what we do. Hope you had fun. We learned some things, we tested some things, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.